It is the second attempt by Herpa Wings to make an A350-1000 of British Airways in scale 500. The model has certainly improved, but why you should still think twice before getting it, we'll find out now. And with that, welcome to a new episode of Review, where we, as mentioned, will take a closer look at an Airbus A350-1000 of British Airways. At the front of the box we have the cutout, so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we have the British Airways branding. The back side of the box is unfortunately a complete joke, another cutout which is absolutely terrible for the model, but we have covered this extensively in a few previous reviews, so I won't get much more into this other than I absolutely hate it. And here she is, the Airbus A350-1000 in the current livery of British Airways. This is already the second attempt by Herpa Wings of making this aircraft, except of course that it has a different registration code to the first version. This is very normal for Herpa Wings, and a great thing if you want to build up a realistic fleet. But let's take a closer look at the model and see where it has improved, but also where not. And if we start off with the tail section, we can see on the vertical stabilizer the British Airways branding, which of course is inspired by the Union Jack. On top of the stabilizer we have the last three letters of the registration code, the full registration code, and the logo of the British Royal Mail we find on the fuselage. On top of the fuselage we then also have this addition of this lovely little Saturdome, something we didn't have with the first version. At the very tail of the aircraft we then also have a little bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft, across the fuselage, we then again have the British Airways branding, and we also have a little one-word logo of which British Airways is a member. On top of the fuselage, we then have another little Saturdome, very awesome little detail, and another detail that we didn't have with the first version of this model. The cockpit section, perhaps a little bit bare-boned, as always with the standard models of Herpa Wings, but we do have the lovely black markings around the cockpit windows. We have the window wipers printed on. Above the cockpit windows, we then find the last three letters of the registration code again, and we also have the emergency hatch for the cockpit printed on. The engine nacelles have been given the same dark blue color as the belly of the aircraft. I think they look rather decently detailed. Also, if we look here from the back side, I think that looks quite okay. If we look into the engines from the front, we can then very nicely see the engine fan blades. Now, we should also spend a little bit of time with the wings, because they are actually quite important to this model, both in a good, but unfortunately also in a bad way. If we look here at the top side of the wings, we have all the different flap slats and spoilers carved out very nicely. We also have the markings as to where to walk on the wing. Very nice. If we look on the underside of the wing, I think that looks also fairly decent. We also have the full registration code of the aircraft once again. But if we look closer at the wings, you might notice there is a slight difference in color from the wings to the fuselage. And that is simply wrong. There should be the same white color as the fuselage, but they have a slight yellow tint. It's worse when you look at it with your own eyes than what I can capture here on camera. And I have been looking quite extensively at promotional material because I wanted to know if this is a specific issue with my model or an issue across the entire production line. And I'm sorry to say, it does very much look like this is an issue with the entire production line. And that is really bad, because it's such an obvious mistake. I cannot understand how Herpa would have missed that, which makes me believe they didn't. They just didn't care. So this time the aircraft model has yellow tinted wings. The last time the issue with the wings was the missing detail on the winglets. But at least that is something they actually have fixed, and I must say it looks really nice with the British Airways branding on the winglets. But it is continuing with the overall feeling of having a mixed bag here when we look at the landing gear. Now, the main landing gear here underneath the wings, if you look at that, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. But if I look at it from the front, it just looks a bit strange, especially the inwards facing wheel sets. This is just not right. The front landing gear, however, I think looks perfectly fine. I can't really find any faults here. Of course, I would always want to have some markings, which we only get with Herpa Wings Club models. But overall, I think, yeah, that is fine. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft and here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Airbus A350-1000 in the current livery of British Airways. And I'm honestly a little bit lost for words, because this was supposed to be the model where Herpa made all the right things. where they would right the wrongs of the first version, and then they give us yellow tinted wings. And I really do not understand why and how you could do that. The model itself is great. I mean, the print quality is excellent. The physical details are great. You could argue that the main landing gear is a little bit wonky on the inner side of the wings, but honestly speaking, yeah, when are you actually seeing that? You really have to take a specific look at that. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice it. So overall, it's great. They've even added 2 sat domes, not just 1, but 2 sat domes. 2 details that we didn't have in the first version. They fixed the issue with the missing detail on the winglets. So this was supposed to be the easiest model for them to do in 2020, and they've messed it up. Now, I guess normally at this time of the video, I would say whether I think this is a model for one's collection or not. But I'm really struggling here. I want to say it's a great model, but I can't. So at the very least, if you are interested in the model, then take a particularly good look at the wings to see if you can live with this issue. Now with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video despite this huge disappointment, then feel free to leave a like. That would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.